rich neighborhood, small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Alllard.
Yeah, I know. Sounds good, don't it? We're going to get your opinion today, Mr. Mayor. We're going to talk about what's going on in the community. Apparently, there's a big meeting tonight at City Council. I'll let you talk about it as much as you want. And then we'll talk about what Greg Cooper and I talked about last week about property taxes,
Okay.
And how it's going to affect the city and what would replace it and all this. And Mr. Cooper is very
Adamant.
Adamant's the word, yes. He's very much in favor of it, but I still have questions. But I have Greg on, I believe, in about 6-7 weeks when the session starts again, so we'll have more updates. But there's a lot of bills out there that's going to directly affect our little community, like they will all communities. Also, we talk about the bond that passed and where the money's going to be going and all this, because I think some people had misunderstanding about that bond. They thought they were going to be, repairing county roads with it, but actually it's to prepare to make more access way for TxDOT and all this.
It's regional. Everything that they
Yeah.
do on this thing is regional, and some of the county roads will get replaced by TxDOT. Mm-hmm. Burleson, Joshua's coming out ahead. Cleveland's getting 67, where it has a lot of accidents.
Well, I'll tell you what, those county roads are getting pretty beat up because I think these truckers have discovered that they can save a few miles in a few minutes by taking like 917 instead of staying on 35 and then hooking up in Alvarado at 67 and all this. So they cut through that because I use 917 about once a week to go to Dallas. And there's a whole lot more of these heavy-duty trucks, construction trucks,
And there's a
semis.
bill out there that raised it by 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's just beating the snot out of our roads. But that, and they're just going to talk about general Burleson business and what you got planned for Christmas and whatnot. So let's go ahead and talk about the sponsors. I talked to a couple of them today because I want to get their Christmas holiday schedule. So we're going to do this right. I talked to or texted with Otto earlier. And Otto is, come on, there it is. Asked about his schedules. Okay. Gina's, they're going to be closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And our place will be closed Christmas Day. All right. And they're also, both restaurants will be closed New Year's Day, which it's a pretty good deal. I mean, for his employees. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
yeah. The restaurant business is tough this time of year. A lot of people, busy, they're out doing their stuff, and so they get more business, and it's a lot of work for the employees. So he's always been very generous about those kind of days. I talked to my friends over at Wild Cigar, and they're going to be open both days. They're going to be open probably in the evening times for Christmas. And New Year's Day, they'll be open for all those football games and whatnot. Which Christmas night, after spending time with your family, you might want to get out somewhere. I'm sure the Fletcher family they sit around and
We're
hold
perfect.
hands and
We're
sing
just absolutely
hymns and
perfect, yes.
a cappella, of course.
Sure.
But
We never fight.
you never fight. Are you kidding? It's like it wouldn't be Thanksgiving in our house unless there's a little bit of food throwing and hollering going on. Especially in the last few
I can't
years.
imagine two-party families.
In my family, most of mine are fairly Republican, but my kids have not been. They cancel my vote out every election, but we all kind of keep that under wraps because my parents are kind of old and we don't want to ruin their holidays at this stage of their life, So we kind of keep it together.
Yeah, but they go, nah.
Yeah,
We
they-
don't say nothing.
Yeah, we don't either. My dad used to be really into it and all this other stuff. Now he's like, hell, I'm 86. What do I care anymore? So, maybe we'll get to that point. Who knows? So, also, Otto's, our place and Gina's, though, will be open their regular hours the next 2 weeks. So you want to check into that. Also, Wild, like I mentioned, they'll be open most of their regular hours. You can check into that. They got a party going on this Friday night, their 30-year anniversary. So, you go and have drink specials and have cigar specials and all sorts of things. So you want to check all that out this coming week. Also, our friends at Southern Gym, they're opening more, longer hours. My wife is exhausted. I mean, she's on her feet all day, right? And so and they got a lot of business going on, which is a good thing, right? That's what you want. You don't want to be sitting around playing cards while, Christmas season. So they got plenty going on. And it's a good time. They had a good party on Thursday night. Had a jazz trio, and they had Sales and Robin said they did great, and so that's really good. So go check out Gina's. You can take Mrs. Fletcher out there. It is Christmas season, and Lord knows the wife of a mayor probably needs a little extra attention every now and then, right? So there you go. Also, thank you to Old Pro Roofing, John Williams, 817-734-2756. I saw him Friday night. We had a B&I party, and, we talk. He's a very fine young man, really. He's very honest. And I was talking to the group, and I mentioned what I say on the show, and I had another person verify. I said, yeah, he did the same for me when he came and checked out my roof. He said it was good to go. And so they're not here to upsell you. They're here to tell you the truth. And they also help you with the insurance, which is getting to be a real hassle these days. I don't know. Does Texas Door deal with insurance very often? I mean, I would imagine.
More than they want to.
More than they want to, yeah.
When you get Texas Overhead Door and a logo on the truck, it's like a target. Any business is a target for
Yeah. Yeah, they tap your car. Oh, my back.
We had to take the signs off the truck when we was doing jobs in Oklahoma because every time we went up there and the sign was on it, we got pulled over by a DP.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, when I drive in Oklahoma with my Texas plates, I go 5 miles on the speed limit, because my daughter got picked up about 3 years ago speeding. She was doing, their highways are like 65 and she was doing 68 or 69. She got pulled over for that.
Okay, I'll prove that I got pulled over there because, when they pull up, they have a credit card machine with them. You can pay your fine right there on the spot.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Yes.
Well, anyway, so 817-734-2756. Call John and have him check the roof out. Also, our friends Jeff Kelly, I saw him at this party Thursday night, and he's doing pretty well. And I asked him, what do you think is going to be the impact on real estate if some of these bills in Austin go through about property tax? And his eyes just lit up because he knows that if some of those bills come to pass where they either eliminate or greatly limit property taxes in this state, man, it's going to be a big, big attraction to a lot of people out of state. We already are, but even more so now. And so 817-781-0546 or Jeff at jeffkeltyrealty.com. He was enthusiastic about it, but he had the same questions I did. So we're a long way to go about the property tax issue, but there you are. So give him a holler, though, if you're buying or selling, because he's with the Wethington Agency, and the Wethington Agency has all sorts of resources to help you with that. And we return an old friend of ours. Well, not old. I hate saying that way. Michelle Humphrey. Well, you say an old friend, they're like, oh, I'm not old.
You're going to get in trouble for saying that.
First thing you think of is a cane or a walker.
Yeah, no, a longtime friend. Let's put it that way. Michelle Humphrey. She was on last week with a colleague and we were talking about taking care of yourself during the holidays. Hydrate and don't let the workout go to the side and all this other stuff. And so HotWorks is back with us again for a couple of months, at least, tomorrow, hopefully. And so, everybody has that New Year's resolution. Mine is not to have resolutions because I know what happened with our resolution. January 1st, by golly, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. By February, forget it. So, but HotWorks is back with us, and I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun. Also, Local Life. I was there at a little party that Tiffany had.
Yeah, I dropped by.
You dropped by? Okay, over time. Yeah, and so it was nice, and it was good to see a lot of her friends there. And did you sign the picture?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did too.
We had to go. I had a function, so I dropped by real quick. Nobody had started yet, so we went to it, and then came back later that night. Yeah, everybody was gone, so I signed it then.
Well, December 5th was a busy day. Besides her little party and at Gayla's party, we had open house at Next Step Women's Center, and we had Toys for Tots.
Went to that too.
You went to that too, yeah.
Didn't make Toys for Tots.
It had to make that.
We did it. We took care of Purdue and Jack.
Oh yeah, Jack really worked pretty hard on it, and I've gotten to know Mike Purdue, and he's a very fine man too. And Jack's part of our networking group, and in Local Life, it really does a good job. This month's issue is the nonprofits. It's 7 of the nonprofit leaders. You know what the one thing they had in common, those 7 people? All guests of this show. Thank you. That's right, buddy. All right, anyway.
Really?
Well, yeah. One last thing. The nonprofits, all 3 of our food pantries that we spend time with, Elizabeth Becker at House of Hope and Debbie Beeman at Promises, and now Amber Case at Harvest House. I haven't met her yet, but Garrett Roper kind of is one of their managers, and he's part of the B&I.
The retail store.
Yeah, but most of these are going to be closed the last 2 weeks of this month. even nonprofit workers need to have some vacation time and spend time with their families. Now, that's all well and good, but what that means is also with school out, they're not going to have those breakfast and lunches provided by the schools. So I would encourage y'all to go by this week and particularly load up on things that kids can make while their parents are at work. They tell me that peanut butter jelly is always a big fan. Also, those little cups of shells and cheese. Also, canned foods that they can open themselves.
Ramen noodles,
things that they can make themselves because they're going to be probably out. The parents will be out working, so and the kids will be home or something like that. So be sure to next couple of weeks go and. If you're a routine giver, double up. If you're not a routine giver, it's a good opportunity to show your community spirit because we're going to have some kids that are going to be kind of out of pocket, so to speak, for 2 weeks when it comes to meals. All right. Now, you mentioned before the show that there's going to be a big meeting tonight.
Well, let's do one other thing.
Oh, one other thing. Okay.
Okay. The Parade of Lights, we did have that Saturday night. Very, very cold, but still a lot of fun. A lot of people still showed up with the floats, and it was good. The streets had a lot of people on them. I had no fingers left by the time I got back to the truck.
Because it's that cold?
Yes, but we're having the tree lighting and maybe, hopefully, the drone show on Tuesday night, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night? Okay.
Starting at 6 o'clock. The drone show, the only reason that's up in the air, and tomorrow's starting to look pretty good on the weather.
It is.
But if there's even a mist, they won't fly. So that's kind of the downside of a drone show. But it is an amazing thing to watch.
I've heard that. I've never seen one, so I guess I know what I can be doing tomorrow night.
Barbara Black's going to read the Christmas Carol. She's a sweetie.
Yes,
so, yeah, it'll be good. Y'all come on out. Big old tree.
Well, you were talking about the meeting tonight beforehand. He said there's going to be a big announcement, but you want people to watch the meeting instead. So we're not going to.
I'd like to. It's going to be a big deal for Burleson.
A big deal, and I've heard that from one other person as well. That say, hey, you want to watch this meeting?
And it's at the first of the meeting. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but if you want to really see what's going on.
Well, I'm not going to ask you directly what it is because
that's good.
Well, you said there has to be a vote. Hey, there has to be a vote and an executive council meeting and all this other stuff, executive session. So
we're not doing the vote in executive session.
Right, but afterwards.
But we do have an executive session before that, and there'll be a presentation, and we'll vote on that in public. And when that passes, then we'll go to the next step.
Okay, and so I'll let them find out. Well, I'll find out about the same time. But what you've told me and what my other contact, if you will, told me this was a big deal. It is a big deal. I mean, we always like when a new business opens up.
But just to get us off the hook, you do not know any more than that. Is that correct,
That's
Brad?
correct. I don't. I honestly.
Okay, I pass the witness.
No. He didn't say anything to me, and neither did the other person I talked to. He said,
excellent.
And so I really don't know what it is. It's no joke. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know if what kind of business it is. I assume it's a business, but I don't know what kind of. Okay, but I don't know what it is, and so I don't know anything any more than what you just told me. Watch the meeting. It's basically what you told me before the show, and doggone it, this has been a great place to unveil it to the public. But I get it. You got to do it in the right way.
Well, there was an opportunity for tomorrow, but I hear Victoria's not going to be here.
Well, she's doing mom duties tomorrow.
Excellent.
She's also working on some project for the Opportunity Fund, she says, but also mom duties. And I don't know what possesses her to put her kids in front of my show as a priority, but whatever. But anyway,
is that for Brad or for Victoria?
No, Victoria. No,
great question.
I'm not sure what it is. This time of year, I know that elementary kids are doing this and doing that, and having presentations and shows and trips and all that. And I think that's what it is tomorrow.
It is.
So it'll be fine. I'll talk to her next month. She'll be, give her a break. But as far as what I really was concerned about is last Monday I talked to Greg Cooper about the property tax issue, and he's very much in favor. Now, to be clear, we spent the majority of the show about the CAD elections, which are still going on, right? And
we got one more week. Now, we've already voted,
and
we've already done ours.
Okay. And, it's not an election in a sense like the general public participates in. It's usually the electors are
the election officials. In
election
other words,
officials, yeah.
I might have said that wrong.
Well,
It's the city councils, the school boards, those.
right.
Even the county has their votes on it, I think.
Did the city council and BSD vote in the same way?
I'm not sure.
Well, he was focusing on Godly, saying that their superintendent had put up another trio of candidates that kind of at the last minute that kind of put a fly in the ointment. And
I don't know how far I can go on this, but I'm going to ahead and go. That the ISDs have the highest dollar amount or highest tax rate. Okay,
right.
And I want to defend that to a point, and the fact that the state comes in here and gives them all these unfunded mandates to do.
You bet they do.
And their administrative personnel has grown through the roof. Because anything you do at the state, anything you do with the federal government, you have to document. You have to do all of this stuff, and you got to pay for that. Well, so I'm gonna give them a walk on that. But when you start talking about Godly, and they wanted an $800 million bond at one time with no accountability of how it was sold, how you drew on that bond package. Literally, they were saying, you approve it and we'll spend it how we want to. Now, this has been a couple of years ago.
Right.
But when you have ISDs, and I think we have a lot of growth in Burleson, and I think our school district is up front. I've sat in on several meetings with the superintendent, and he was explaining the needs coming down and where we're going with this. And this ties into a report that I saw. We're going to be over 1 million people by 2035.
In the county?
Yes. This is.
I was thinking Burleson. No.
Hey, I was told we was going to get 200,000 people in the next 10 years. That's been 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, wait, 200,000.
And I hadn't had an official report on this. So
good heavens,
we are growing.
Do we have a space for that?
Huh?
Do we have space within the city
We
limits?
have water for that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
we got so many ifs right now that it's tough. I went to the commissioner's court today in Cleburne. And when you come back from Cleburne this way, the number of houses, apartments on 171 it's becoming staggering. And all of every one of these people, sooner or later, is going to drive right through Burleson.
Yeah, on 174.
Yes.
It was a mess. We were there. We were in Joshua yesterday afternoon, and it took us 15 minutes almost to get from like the first light.
That was like interstate now.
Yeah, it was just.
It's tough in the morning and the afternoon. So when you take all of this in and you're trying to figure out the tax rates, and then you've got the schools that need the money. The state is telling them you need to do this, you need to do this. They're in a pickle.
They are.
They really are. But then we're sitting back over here getting blamed when we're trying every way in the world to cut our budget to keep from having to cut or raise the property tax rate. And then you got the state up here that is doing everything in the world to diminish municipals' ability to run. They want to take everything away from us.
I've heard that too.
When you talking about the tax rate, and I could go off big time on this because I'm for eliminating the tax rate. And being in business, I was involved in sales tax. Now, the state has capped the sales tax at 8.25%. Out of that 8.25%, cities get 2 points. We have 1 point goes to the general fund. A half a point goes to parks, and a half a point goes to the economic development. When we give incentives, it comes out of that sales tax portion, not the general fund. So when you do all of this, it's money. So I came up with the idea, let's raise the sales tax 1 cent and create a public safety. And when we go in and look why would that benefit us? We're 53,000 people in Burleson now. But our revenue on sales tax, because we're in this corridor of people going from Tarrant to Cleveland or Joshua or Godley or stuff like that, people are stopping here and shopping.
Mm-hmm.
We're on 35, and we've got this food venue in Burleson that's just really knocking it out of the park. So people stop here on 35 to eat.
Right.
So we got nearly $400,000 population or sales tax use.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not getting sales tax off just 53,000 people. We're getting sales tax from all of these people that's stopping in our town. And when you do this, I said, if we have just one more cent on our sales tax, that'd be $11 million that we could put to public safety, and that starts diminishing property tax rates.
Okay, I got you.
So when you go down through this thing, I contacted, and I'm not going to say names because I know the position they're in.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to somebody in Austin, an elected official, and he liked it. And a day or so later, he called me up and says, good news is everybody here likes it. Bad news is nobody will vote for it.
I was going to wonder about that.
Because it sounds like you're raising taxes. People are so anti-tax, and I understand it. I do. I mean, every time you turn around, you're getting taxed for something, feed for something. So I understand that. But that was something that was going to be, when you take 1 cent, that's $1 on the 100. I mean, you're talking something. And then when you talk about your food, a lot of the food doesn't have a sales tax on it.
Mm-hmm. We don't tax groceries in this state like they
That's
do.
right.
Like they do in Oklahoma.
That's right. And this keeps us from raising the property tax rate. And we're in a bind right now. We reduced our city budget by 13%. My city manager doesn't even have a secretary right now. So we have issues, and it's not just us. It's every town. Every town has got issues with their budget. Small towns are getting hit hard. The CAD board, which I want to talk about that, the CAD board went to this 3-year evaluation. Well, that's great for the citizens, and I'm happy for them. But we're not getting any growth revenue now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to deal with that. So the towns that's getting the blunt of the growth, like Burleson, we're not getting that money until it gets revalued in 3 years.
And that part I did not know. One thing Mr. Cooper brought up is some of the property values have been frozen for like 10 years and no explanation has been given why. And that's another issue entirely. But it's interesting because...
Is it 10 years or 3?
It was 10. He showed the data. I mean,
I tell you what, if Greg Cooper says it, I believe it.
Well, everything he said, he backed up with data, and he had it on the screen, and he showed it. It was all public knowledge or public information, so it was no insinuation. It was all stuff that you can get. If anybody else had the time or energy to do it, they could get the same thing he did. So it's all public information he got.
Man, I lean on that guy. He
too.
knows what he researches it, and it's not biased.
No, but we were talking about the property tax quite a bit, and and he said basically the proponents of eliminating the property tax is that property taxes are one of the bigger reasons why people lose their homes, or one of the bigger reasons why people's rent is high.
Yes,
and things of that nature. And I get it. I do have everybody that I've ever mentioned this to, and I mentioned it 3 or 4 of my buddies at the breakfast table we go to every other Thursday at Otto's place. They all had the same question. Well, what are you going to replace it with? And they was talking about value-added taxes and fees and whatever else. And his point would be you'd have some control over the taxes you pay by what you buy. All right.
As long as the government kept their hand out of it, because what they do with the lottery that Ann Richards got going and promised it to education. Everything was supposed to be education. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And where does it go now?
Well, technically it goes to education, but they just took money else out of education from other sources and put it elsewhere.
No, they took the whole thing over.
Okay.
And then Rick Perry sold the whole lottery thing
that's
off.
right. I remember
So
that.
now we don't have anything for education, and that would have taken care of our education.
It would have made a big dent, yes.
So Austin is not on my happy list. Okay.
Yeah, well, and my point, and I'm going to have, like I said, have Mr. Cooper on in about 6-7 weeks from now, in mid-January. My point, and we didn't develop it really. We spend most of the time about the CAD, but my point is that how would this help renters? And his point would be that the landlords would lower the rent because of the competitive
No, they
pressures. Well, that's kind of like you're trusting these landlords to give that money back in a sense. He said that, landlord A may try to keep it, but landlord B, who has units to fill, may,
See, that's the deal.
Cut the price a bit.
That's the whole thing right there. The market will dictate what you're going to do. If other people are dropping their rent, yeah. But you don't want price fixing either.
Well, that's illegal.
If they all get together and say, okay, we're going to leave ours up here.
That's called collusion, and it is illegal.
Yes.
But it's hard to prove.
That's right.
Yeah.
And go to jail over it.
Well, yeah, it's very hard to prove.
My situation is I agree with the use tax. I really do. And the reason I do that because it gives, if people are going out buying these very expensive cars, they're going to pay the tax on it. If they're going out and buying filet mignon and Japanese steak quality, I mean, they pay for it.
Well, if they buy it at Sam's or Walmart or H-E-B, they don't. I mean, as far as taxes go. I mean, I'm saying, it's more expensive.
But it's all proportional.
Yeah. But
if you're trying to save money, Sam's and all that bunch is the right way to go. And you're not going to pay as much tax if it's not groceries.
Well, I don't know of any specific proposal that said that we will tax groceries, but I can't imagine that would continue to be exempt when you're going to be scrounging around looking for every sales tax dollar you can find. Like I said, Oklahoma, their property taxes are next to nothing. My cousin owns a home with 8 acres, and he pays about 1/10 of what I do in property taxes. But they have a state income tax, which we'll never have, and they do tax their pharmaceuticals and their groceries.
But they don't have the growth we've got. Our infrastructure is I had 51,000 people in Burleson. If we didn't have any of the rest of the traffic in the county, we had plenty of roads. We had manageable roads at 51,000. But with everybody driving through Burleson, stopping in Burleson, which I appreciate, we don't have the infrastructure to handle the traffic.
You had to do what they did in New York City. Do you hear what they did?
What?
In Manhattan, it's a $9 fee to drive your car into Manhattan.
I heard that. And what was it for the trucks?
Twice that much. Or
it was at least twice.
20, it's like in the 20s.
Did you know if you said they've got a no idle rule in New York? If you got caught idling your truck at a stoplight, it's a $10,000 fine.
Well, New York's a bunch of knuckleheads anyway, but I'm just saying, that maybe they put a big sign right at the end of 174 over by maybe where the Tractor Supply is or that blooming flowers store or whatever, said, charge $10 to use this road. I'm sure that'll go real big with their county neighbors, but I'm just being facetious. But another thing I'd be concerned about is also fees. Is it going to cost more than $25 to get your car inspected? Is it going to cost more than whatever? I mean, I pay $75 roughly for each of my cars for the county every year. Would it be more? Driver's license, would that be more? Those kind of things. And I have to think a lot of people that are on more limited income might find that be difficult. Again, to be fair to Mr. Cooper, his point would be they'd have more disposable income to take care of those things. And they can make choices about where they spend their money. And if they think, well, this whatever I'm buying is not worth the taxes I'm paying on it, they won't buy it. And therefore they had a choice in their tax payments. But some things you don't have a choice on. Car repairs, tires. I mean, you can't say, well, I'm going to, when you need tires, you're going to have tires.
Which is worse, paying it as you go or waiting until the end of the year when you get the ticket?
It would depend on the situation. For me personally, I like to pay as I go because I always like to know where I'm at any particular time financially.
You want no sales property tax?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to come somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea, and it's, I'll say this correctly, it's a sad state that people don't know how to manage their money.
You got that right.
Look at our credit card. Our credit cards are through the roof because people,
high.
And some people don't have a choice.
I saw this morning it's all-time high.
It's nuts. So you're still doing the credit card thing. Now at the end of the year, you're going to get a tax bill.
I wonder what, also when you talk about sales tax, if people say, well, this is too expensive, I'm going to buy it on Amazon, which I don't know what the sales tax situation is there.
Well, that's another story.
Yeah, or online anywhere. That's another deal. And I know that Alex Phillips, would ask me to ask you very nicely to shop locally, because that's going to be even more of a priority for communities to shop locally if they're basically the lifeblood of their community is based on it. It already is, but even more so if we didn't have a property tax.
Well, and here's the problem I got.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we get the sales tax off of any delivery in our city limits.
Okay.
Joshua does too.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland does too.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bill out there, and I'm trying to find out. In fact, I've got a 2:00 meeting with someone about it. There's a bill out there that wants that sales tax to go to the point of shipment. Okay? Like Amazon on I-35, that's not even anybody there.
Right.
It would get that sales tax because that's where it would be addressed from.
Isn't Cleveland having an Amazon delivery?
They're getting it. I don't know if it's just a delivery. I hear it's more of a corporate headquarters.
It is. Derek Weathers was on the show about 3 weeks ago, and he was really excited because it's going to be on the corner of 67 and the tollway, and he was very excited about that for Cleveland.
Yeah, that's a neat deal.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is they didn't even ask for abatements. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But they build these warehouses like on 35, and they don't use them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if they're counting on that bill so they have all these point of shipping points.
Derek Weathers is listening. It's going to be a fulfillment center.
It is good.
Okay.
Good.
Well,
I heard it. It was.
It's good for the county.
How many employees, Derek? I mean, it's a great thing for Cleveland. It's a great thing for Johnson County.
Mm-hmm. It is, and because it's okay. I guess they did not say. What's interesting is, though, you think, well, gosh, that's going to be great for Cleveland, and it is, but it's good for us too because
it's on the toll road,
right? It's going to be people from Burleson working there too.
Yes.
I mean, all over the county,
and we're getting 2 new lanes on the toll road,
and we need them.
Yes,
and I tell you, but last week, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I had to buy some gifts for these parties I was going to, and I went to Accents. I went to Old Town Provisions, and I'm going to Moretti's Oil, but that's for me. And can I get this stuff online? Or Derek says 800 to 1,000 jobs to start. Okay. Wow, that's pretty good.
Oh, that's a boost for Cleveland.
It's a boost for all of us. I mean, like I said, there's going to be people all over the county working there, not just from Cleveland. They may be getting some revenue from it, but you're going to be people from Godley and Joshua and Burleson working there too, and Fort Worth probably.
And I'm happy for them.
I am too, because we don't. This is not a zero-sum game kind of thing, where if they prosper, we don't. But anyway, I'm not patting myself on the back on shopping locally, but I really do believe it in my heart that it's important. As a former school teacher, they paid my salary. They were paying taxes into the school system, and they were paying my salary, so I felt like I was obligated, if I can at all, to patronize local businesses and restaurants and whatever else.
Well, and the thing about it is, the whole 174, 171 corridor has got so many things. Mm-hmm. There's not much of a reason to go to Fort Worth anymore.
Not really. The only time we leave Burleson, there's a couple of antique malls in Dallas my wife likes, and we'll maybe do that.
30?
One of them is near 30, but the other one is not too far from North Park Mall, and she likes those really well. And so, we'll go over there about once every 6 weeks or so. But if we're shopping, why, we don't leave town. If we're going out to eat, what do we have here that Fort Worth has? I mean, we have everything.
Yeah, and we're drawn from Fort Worth some.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we want a hamburger, we know where to go, and we go to Otto's, we go to the Rim. Robin likes them. I like Fresco's very, very much.
I was hit up the other day about what's your favorite place to eat. I don't have one. I've got a favorite at nearly every place.
I can think
330's knocking it out of the park. I mean,
right.
Old Texas is man, they've got. I have two places where I get pasta. I love pasta.
I do too. I do too.
So Philip's got his, and 330's got something. Eagle Point got a cheesesteak I love. I mean, we don't go to Fort Worth
we
much.
Don't. And I have some friends that I think that still own Roscoe's, and I like them very well.
Roscoe's is good.
Yeah, when I'm in that part of town, and so it's not like you have to go. There's always something close. I wish there's something closer on the other side of 35. All we got over there is a Sonic, and then we have Via Diana down the road, but that's about it. And Via Diana, I've been going for years.
Burleson ends at around the Olive Garden. All that stuff up in there is Fort Worth. Spinks is Fort Worth.
I'd like to see some new development on the east side of the highway. I know there's a couple of lots available near the apartments that have been built, and near Sonic and near the QT.
East side of 35.
Yeah, east side of 35.
Whereabouts?
Well, just 917
in that area?
No. I'm talking about on Renfro. It just the Sonic over there, and those apartments, the Remington apartments, and they built the road behind it with a couple of the roundabouts, which I'm sure
council gets beat up pretty bad about when you say multifamily.
Right, I know, but
if I'll make this clear in the fact that multifamilies, where a lot of them goes to Fort Worth to work, I'm okay at putting it next to 35, and we're getting 2 new lanes on 35. So yeah, that I can understand that when we have the multifamilies we have now, and they're setting off of Aldsbury, Hewlin. Over there where traffic is already dense, and we're trying to get that over to where there's not any place to put them that alleviates the traffic problem.
Well, there's just, I think, room to grow that direction, but I'm not Alex. I don't know what's happening over there, but I do know there's a couple of spots. It'd be right next to Hard 8, and
I understand that back behind there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I could understand that. That is manageable high density. Okay, especially with what they're doing on I-35 and the intersection on 1187.
The thing about all that growth is, we love it if somebody puts something there, but that's just one more business that the city has to facilitate and service, isn't it? And so there's money involved, and it isn't like they just pop up something and we just start collecting the cash. I mean, you got to give them. Make sure they got the utilities and all the rest of it. It goes with that. And so I understand. It's a problem I'd rather have than not have. Because I've seen communities decline, and it gets really sad, and it gathers momentum.
Small towns. The stuff that they're going through right now. I would never want to be a mayor of a small town.
No,
And I want to tell you about the decision making at Burleson. We have got a phenomenal city manager. Our deputy city managers are knocking it out. We have a great staff, but it is so nice having a council that's working together.
It is.
I tell you what, I've got some brain trust to the left of me. I've got Parks and right on. I've got somebody on the executive board of the North Central Texas Council of Governments.
Right.
I've got somebody, an advocate for the school. I've got a realtor on there that really advises us on trends and stuff like that. I have got a great council right now, and I appreciate how everybody voted.
Well, it's a relief to us, to tell you the truth, because we think
there's no drama.
Right, no drama, and we feel like our issues are being addressed. Now, I like the fact that, there's been a lot of open debate and, decisions made, and y'all move forward, and they don't keep relitigating old decisions.
I agree.
That once the decision's made, it's 4-3, 5-2, 6-1, whatever. the vote's been had, let's move on. And instead of going back and rehashing some old grievances and stuff like that. And so that makes it a lot better. And it gives the city some confidence. Now, I'm sure you hear or get emails, people that say, I wish you'd have chosen B instead of A, but that's normal.
I get these calls of people, any email I get, if they don't have a phone number on it, I'll reply and say, send me a phone number. So we get to talking about this stuff, and there's people that in an email, you really can't finish a discussion. But when you call and talk to them, when we get through and they don't get their way, at least they understand why.
And it ends more civilly because you can, you can't read tone in an email.
Absolutely. I had an email, and this is before I started calling people. I had this email, and the guy didn't like bonds. And I understand that. I really do. And when I got home, I got this was at a speaking engagement I had. When I got home, I had a mayor's email, and this guy was blowing me up, telling me that he could fix this and the whole thing. And we went back and forth all week long, and I answered all of his questions, all this. And the last email I got from him was, thank you for your patience. Mm-hmm. And it took all week to get that. One phone call takes about 10, 15 minutes.
Well, I'll verify.
And as long as they want to.
I've emailed you, and you've always called me.
Not every time.
Okay. He's like, no, he has. I think I've emailed you twice. I mean, because I have access to talk to you. If I have a question, I can ask you in this format, which a lot of people don't have. But I will verify to the vast listening audience that you do exactly that, and it does make a difference.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Here's kind of a non sequitur question, a little off the path. But can you imagine doing this job and maintaining a full-time job? I mean, if you're still owning Texas Door and working that in many hours, because everybody knows business
I
owners.
could have done it because I had Eric.
All right.
Eric could manage it and do everything I needed. Nancy said, I've tracked your hours in a week, okay? And said, you're doing about 20 to 30 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Now, a mayor, small towns even have more invested. But a mayor has a choice. You can do everything behind the scenes, or you can get up there and run the meeting. And there's a difference.
Right, there is. And I just wondering, because I see the hours you put in, Victoria puts in, all of them put in.
Yes, Victoria's on the cog. She puts in a lot of hours on that.
Yeah, and so I don't know how she does it, frankly, because she's involved in like 19 different organizations and tries to raise two little squirts at the same time. And it's a...
You got Philip, too.
And, right.
So,
well,
I'm not taking anything away from Victoria. She works at it.
I know. I met Philip one time, and I just had to shake his hand and said, you poor guy, But he laughed and all that. And, it's all good. But, it's...
if you do the job right as mayor, you're out there.
Mm-hmm. As far as the bond issues and the liquor store election, I'll kind of just briefly touch on that one. I want to touch on that one first, the liquor store election. It passed. I don't know what percentage, but I think it was like 2-1, wasn't it? Or
it was desired.
All right, it was enough not to have a recount anyway.
No.
All right. I wonder if there's been any progress on that because
we've got some interest, and I think they're already filing. But I think the store size and stuff of that nature is going to eliminate the mom and pop liquor stores.
Yeah, well, and people might criticize that, but the thing is, even if you said you could have any size you want, those mom and pop liquor stores wouldn't last very long. To be frank, they can't
compete with Specs
or Total
down the
Wine.
road.
Yeah, Total. I have a feeling. Now, Alex didn't say anything. You can't get nothing at Alex. Okay, I've found that out over the years, but I would bet a whole $1 Total Wine has made inquiries because they're pretty aggressive in expansion, and. I already know of a couple of guys that said they're thinking about doing it themselves.
I do too.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, get after it, and that'd be great,
Well, that brings competition. I mean, I want them to survive. I want to make money, but it's also good for the consumer.
And if we're going into this more sales tax oriented revenue system, we're going to need it.
Oh, that's that liquor sales tax. And people got to understand that the liquor for a restaurant has to be bought within the county that they serve.
Yeah.
So these guys are all having to go to Alvarado to get their supplies
at retail prices.
At an easy way to say it. And the guy's not giving any tax break.
He's not giving any kind of break. It's just right off the shelf.
Or tax, price
well,
break.
I mean, what Chris and Nathan pay for their liquor is the same as what I would pay if I went down there. And, I don't know. That's unheard of. But I'm glad we're going to do it. But as far as the sales tax, again, it's going to be really, really important because I do believe in some fashion that there'll be some movement on property taxes again, not just so much a cut like they did last session, and some people got rebates. But I think they're going to greatly limit. They already have greatly limited schools' ability to change the tax rates. Last time we tried it was 2012. That tax. It was a ratification election.
Yeah, but a lot of these schools need to be a little more frugal on how they spend their money.
Well, all I could say from this end is that I used to have BISD on monthly, and I talked to Michaela Hill at the beginning of the school year, and she said, we just don't have the time for it because we're not adding personnel, but we're adding duties. And so a lot of people they just said,
it's a tough gig, and our poor teachers aren't getting paid like they need to be.
No, and they said, I don't, had nothing to do with this show or anything else. They just said, when I inquire about who wants to go on the show, they said, I just don't have time. I'm already working, coming early and staying late. And if I spend an hour and a half, going to and from the show and all that, I got to find that hour and a half somewhere else. And so I'd like to have them on in the spring again, and I'll ask her again, but I think I know what the answer is going to be. And I understand, the people say, well, every time they get more money, they just add more administration. If you took the state's mandates and all the requirements out of it, that would cut down some of that, absolutely. But when you're a growing district and you have a diverse student body and you're trying to offer a diverse educational opportunities like, the game theory class and the STEAM Academy over at Fraser and, the early college program, et cetera, well, you have to pay for staff and for administration, and that's all there's to it.
I'm kind of cold-hearted on education. We do this STAR test, and having an ex-teacher and knowing what they go through when they have the test and how they have to monitor it and all the time spent on that.
It's a beating.
When only thing you need to do is let the kids learn, give them a grade. If they don't pass, keep them back.
Well,
it ought to be them held accountable for what they got.
Exactly.
And I understand there's pros and cons to everything, and I'm sure I'm not in the know, but I know the STAR test is one of the I've had several people say it's not about what they know, it's what they remembered.
Right, and it's how they grind it into them, and then like the 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
At the level I taught, juniors and seniors, the only testable class I had was the juniors, and most of them were advanced placement or dual enrollment, so the test really wasn't that much of a challenge for them, but that's not the point. For most of my peers, they had to shut down what they were doing for 2 weeks and do nothing but
that's exactly right.
Tax review or
and it's
STAR
stressful.
review.
It is stressful.
Gosh, yes.
And then you have to sit there and monitor the test, and you're sitting there doing nothing instead of teaching.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, you can't read anything, you can't grade anything. It's not like, I have like 3 hours, I can catch up on my grading. No, sir. You have to walk around the room and make sure it's all the stuff is there. If you and God forbid you're on your computer. If you are, you're going to hear about it, which a couple of my peers did. And so the point is that we could do a lot. Now, they say that, well, how do you know if these kids are learning or not and whatever else? Well,
if they don't pass?
Well, the school's under tremendous pressure to pass kids. This idea that we don't.
And that's wrong.
Yeah, it is. The burden of failure very much lies with the school districts, not with the student. I mean, I've had kids say, I'm going to graduate, and they didn't do a cotton picking thing their senior year, and they were failing all their classes, but somehow they got across that stage. And they all knew it because they knew that almost everything will be done to keep the kid from failing. including and up to
That's called enabling.
enabling. Oh yeah, and then it's like once you cross the stage, buddy, you're society's problem, and they go and then they complain later in their life about how schools didn't learn them nothing.
And the state sits here and dangles the carrot over them, saying, if you don't do this, we're not going to give you your money,
Right,
which is not enough money to start with.
well, and if I were king of this state, one of the things I would do is standardized testing. Now the thing about it is, I don't know if it's what the federals are involved in, but when No Child Left Behind came in, involved about 20 years ago, we didn't have an option. We had to have, if we wanted federal money. And so that's when we went from, but see, even prior to that 2002, that No Child Left Behind, the state of Texas still had standardized testing, but it wasn't nearly as high stakes. It was more of a evaluative type test as opposed to if you don't pass, you don't graduate, and your school gets knocked for it. The stakes went way up with No Child Left Behind, and then the state added its burdens on it as well. And
Politicians need to get their nose out of it.
well, just BISD alone, I bet they spend several $1 million in total for materials, for time,
Yes.
and all this other for remediation. I mean, just by itself, BISD could probably save, I don't know exactly how much, but it'd be 7 figures if we didn't have to mess around with standardized testing. And also what happens is a test is given usually early to mid-April, and then the kids, man, they totally check out after that. I mean, because they know they're going to pass, and so once the test is over, they don't put much effort in the rest of the 6 weeks that are left because there's no more pressures on them. And that's a whole nother topic, but is that going to change? I doubt it. That's one reason why so many of these of my former students homeschool, and because they don't want their kids going through all that STAR testing.
I had questions about homeschooling, really skeptical about it, in fact. But then at our church, we have several kids that were homeschooled that's gone off to college. And they're really doing well.
I would say probably about at least 1 out of 4, if not 1 out of 3 of my Dallas Baptist students are homeschooled. And as far as Hill, I would say maybe 1 out of 10, but it's a lot higher percentage. But the DBU, I get them, and and so I'll ask questions, in class. Well, what high school did you go to? Well, I was homeschooled. I bet it's pretty close to 30% of my DBU kids, and they're doing fine academically. And see, back in the 90s when I first was dealing with high school, we had homeschooling. The only 2 reasons you had homeschooling was health-related issues, like you had long-term illness, or you're such a troublemaker, they give you the boot. All right. Now, with all the stuff you go on, there is so many more opportunities.
I know.
And the quality of education is drastically higher.
You get a mama that says you're going to learn this. That's pretty. I'm pretty sure she has some incentives there.
Well, you look at like Sarah Carlson and her 3 young boys. They all are homeschooled, and her son Gage is he's passing the advanced placement tests with 4s and 5s, and that's impressive. I know how hard those tests are, and to get a 5 on an AP test,
That's cool.
That's significant.
But that's a parent. Yeah, well, that is, when you sit down and you can bring everything back to a parent, whether it's good quality or bad. Sarah's doing a good job on it.
Oh, you betcha. And they have a whole setup for it.
I wish we had more parents more involved and worrying about sports instead of academics.
That's true. That's true. My tenure at BHS was 99% great when it came to the parents. I had a couple here and there that were kind of pains in the rump, but most of them were great. But you get it when I got them, you call them up and say, hey, little junior here needs to get his act together. And so, I'll talk to him, but really ain't much I can do about it now. Okay. So, you got to start knocking their heads when they're in elementary school, and you can really tell which kids had accountability at home and which ones didn't.
I agree.
And that's the deal. And we're not talking about, I had AP kids that were of, shall we say, typical academic ability, but they did really well because they had accountability. And I had kids that had really high IQs and, very gifted, and they barely passed because they just loafed. And they didn't have accountability for it. And so...
we're designed to have goals.
Yeah.
And we don't do it.
Well, we got off on the education tangent a little bit.
Oh, we did. It's your fault.
Yeah. Well, it's my fault. Okay, I'll take the blame.
Okay.
What are your plans for Christmas? You going anywhere?
Nope.
Yeah, good. I'm going to my parents. My parents live in Corsicana, and I'm blessed that I still have them. At my age, I've said this before, but Robin and I are the only couple I know whose all four parents are still with us. And
Wow.
yeah, it's they're all in their 80s, and my dad's. I've talked about his dementia before, and it ain't pretty, but he's physically
my
okay.
heart goes out to people. Nancy had that with her mom and dad.
Yeah, it's not good. And my mom is health-wise is a little frail. She's still got all her faculties, but
Are they close by?
Corsicana.
Okay.
And so it's an hour and 10 minutes. Robin's parents are in North Carolina.
Do you have anybody that can help with them?
My sister lives about 2 minutes from them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and she's very involved.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Nancy's mom and dad was in Pampa. Mm-hmm. That's 5 hours.
It's a ways off.
And she made that trip every week for a while.
Well, no, my sister and my brother-in-law really take care of business. So I'm fortunate. I'm blessed with that. And my sister really picked up the ball on that, and I'm very blessed by that. I try to go down there. I call every day or close to it, but and my mom is like, "You don't need to come down here. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, Mom.
That's mom's.
Yeah, well, she just doesn't want us to worry. But I have my son and his girl coming in from Oklahoma City. My daughter lives in Mansfield, so she'll be around. But we're not going on ski trips or anything like that. Robin, first of all, even if she's inclined to, she's going to be exhausted. She's working at the jewelry store, and they're going to be open later and on Saturdays and stuff like that. So, they're going to be working a lot of hours in the next 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So
we might wind up at the lake, spend the night at the lake or something like that. We got a fire pit and a sunrise.
Well, that's not a bad way to do it.
Not bad.
Not bad. Okay. Taylor, how you doing over there?
I'm here, man.
Well, tomorrow, like the mayor mentioned, I was going to have Victoria, but mom duty's gotten away, and that's fine. So I'm going to yell and holler about what's going on in Syria. Have you seen what's going on over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mess. I'm doing the research on it right now, and
they got 3 terrorist groups in the country.
Yes, but
So
well, it was interesting that this morning we bombed one of them. Because we had been reluctant to do that.
I think there was like 3 different
it's
targets, wasn't there?
Yes. And so since we don't have to worry about, the Russians and all that and their response, we just bombed the crap out of several ISIS camps this morning. And, so we got that going on. And so, yeah, it's confusing.
Oh, that's happy.
That's good.
There you go.
Yeah. No,
How's that?
That's
3
good.
times.
Yeah. Also, hey. Yeah, okay, fine. But,
Gun happy in there.
And I've been reading some stuff, but I'm not prepared really to make an opinion yet, because is this a good thing or a bad thing or a little of both?
Well, Trump's saying, we need to stay out of it. It has nothing to do with us.
I agree.
Let them fight it out between themselves. But
Right.
we have to have better security at home before we start.
I agree. And I think that's, and Biden's thinking he's going to try to shape, I read this article, he's going to try to shape the new government, bullcorn.
It is what it is over there.
Yeah, those terrorist groups are going to say, yes, Joe, tell us what to do. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. But we're going on at 9:00 in the morning. Since my classes are done, I'm going to try to do it a little early, so I have the rest of the day. We'll be grading papers.
You want me to come by and talk about the announcement for a minute?
That'd be fine. If you want to come by at 9:00, be fine.
Are you on it?
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? I don't know.
That's a good one.
That's a good.
It is?
Hey, no, it's fine. If you are in the neighborhood tomorrow, we could take a few minutes out. We can talk about Syria, if we want. But I was just going to show a few clips and headlines.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And,
Thank you for being on the BOF.
Yes, you too.
Caught me off guard on that one.
Yeah. That's a very, very important thing.
I've been meaning to thank you for it, and I hadn't had a chance.
It's fine.
We kind of come and go in a hurry, it seems like.
Well, you got things going on, and
No excuse.
and Taylor's like, TikTok, buddy. Look, he's tapping his watch.
He's got another appointment.
You got another one.
Let's talk for longer. You want to take it? Oh, okay.
All right. I'll see you at 9:00 in the morning.
Him and his button. Thank